Before we dive in, if you enjoy what you hear, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a tale. Like, share, and invite others to join us in the shadows, because fear is always better when it's shared. This story was first posted at Patreon by user Tobias D. The Sycamore Files. When I first stumbled upon the Sycamore Files, I thought it was just another internet ghost story. You know the type, shared on forums at 3 a.m., laced with pixelated images and cryptic warnings. But this one was different. I didn't realize how different until the predictions started coming true. It was the summer of 2010 when I first read the story. I was a bored teenager, spending my nights trawling through conspiracy threads and creepypasta archives. A friend had sent me a link to a long-forgotten message board. "Check this out," he said. "It'll blow your mind." The post was buried deep in the archives, surrounded by the usual nonsense about Bigfoot sightings and alien abductions. But it had a catchy title, The Sycamore Files. The story started simply enough. It was written in the first person, like so many of these tales, with an anonymous narrator recounting their experience. They claimed to have been a journalist, one who had stumbled upon classified government documents during an investigation. The files, labeled under the codename Sycamore, contained a series of encrypted predictions, each one marked with a date and a brief description. "At first, I thought it was all bullshit," the narrator wrote. "Just another hoax cooked up by some basement-dwelling troll. But then I started looking closer. The dates, the descriptions, they were too specific, too precise. And some of them had already happened. My interest was piqued. I kept reading. The predictions were laid out methodically, each one more unnerving than the last. There was a mention of a virus spreading globally, originating from a market in a bustling city. Another spoke of a passenger plane that would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only static-filled radio transmissions. The narrator described how they had tracked these predictions, matching them to real-life events. Each time, the dates aligned perfectly. I'll admit, I was skeptical. Predicting a virus? That's just a lucky guess, right? Planes disappear all the time. But something about the way it was written, the cold detachment of the narrator, and the precision of the details, chilled me. I bookmarked the page, half convinced I'd stumbled upon the ramblings of a madman, and half curious to see what else it contained. Then, things started to get weird. It was 2020 when I first realized the significance of what I'd read. I was in college by then, studying journalism, funnily enough, and the world was in the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone was stuck indoors, glued to their screens, trying to make sense of the chaos. And there it was, the prediction from the Sycamore Files, a virus sweeping across the globe, originating from a market. I felt a chill run down my spine. It couldn't be a coincidence. I searched frantically for the old message board, desperate to reread the story, but it had disappeared. The site was gone, the threads wiped clean. I reached out to my friend who had sent me the link years before, but he claimed to have no memory of it. It was like the story had never existed. But I remembered. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that the Sycamore Files was more than just a story. I started digging, searching for any mention of it online. That's when I found a handful of other users who recalled reading the same story. They, too, had noticed the eerie accuracy of the predictions. And like me, they had tried to find the original post, only to come up empty-handed. We formed a small online group, dedicated to unraveling the mystery. We pooled our memories, piecing together as much of the original story as we could. More predictions surfaced, some that had already come to pass, others that were yet to happen. There was one about a blackout lasting 77 seconds, where every screen would show the image of a blank, staring face. Another described a series of natural disasters occurring in quick succession, culminating in a catastrophic event. We were just a group of internet strangers, united by a shared unease. But the more we talked, the more we felt it. A sense of foreboding, a creeping dread. It was as if the Sycamore files were more than just predictions, it was a script. And reality was following it. The 77-second blackout happened in August of 2023. I was at home, working on my laptop, when the screen went black. At first, I thought it was just a power outage, but when I tried to turn the screen back on, I saw it. A face, blank and featureless, staring back at me. No eyes, no mouth, just a smooth, pale surface. I could hear my neighbors shouting, my phone buzzing with messages, but I couldn't look away. I was frozen, transfixed by the void where a face should have been. And then it was over. My screen flickered back to life, and the world outside resumed its usual noise. The messages on my phone were panicked, friends asking if I'd seen it, if I was okay. News outlets were already reporting the technical glitch that had affected thousands of devices worldwide. But I knew better. This was the prediction, coming to life before my eyes. I posted about it in our group, but the response was silence. The other members, once so active, had stopped replying. Their accounts vanished, leaving behind only a trail of deleted messages. It was like they had never existed. That's when I knew I had to find the Sycamore files. I quit my job, sold my possessions, and began traveling, tracing the origins of the story. I visited libraries, searched through old archives, and combed through conspiracy forums. Everywhere I went, I found traces of it, references to Sycamore, hidden in the margins of books, whispers of predictions in obscure blog posts. But nothing concrete. It was like chasing a ghost. Then, in an old bookstore in a small town, I found it, a dusty, yellowing journal, hidden behind a row of forgotten paperbacks. The cover was plain, unmarked, but as soon as I opened it, I knew. There, scrawled in shaky handwriting, were the predictions. The virus, the plane, the blackout, and more. There was one prediction left, dated just a month away. It described the end of the veil, a moment when reality itself would unravel. I could barely breathe as I read the words, my hands trembling. The last line was written in a different hand, bolder, more confident. They know you're reading this. I slammed the book shut, heart racing. I felt a presence behind me, a shadow falling over the pages. I turned, but the bookstore was empty. The air was still, the only sound my own ragged breathing. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the journal, my mind racing. Part of me wanted to burn it, to destroy the evidence and pretend none of this was real. But another part of me knew it was too late. The story had already taken hold. I took the journal with me, stuffing it into my backpack, and left the bookstore. As I walked out, I glanced back at the old man behind the counter. He smiled at me, a knowing glint in his eyes. Good luck, he said. You'll need it. Now, I'm back home, the journal lying open on my desk. I've read it 100 times, each word seared into my mind. I know what it says, but I can't stop looking at it. It's like the words are alive, writhing on the page, changing when I'm not looking. The prediction is coming true. I can feel it. The air is thick with anticipation, the shadows longer than they should be. Sometimes, I catch a glimpse of that blank, staring face in my reflection, watching me from the corner of my eye. I don't know what will happen when the veil falls. Maybe nothing, maybe everything, but I can't escape the feeling that I've become part of the story, trapped in its pages. Like the predictions, I'm being written into existence. If you're reading this, remember, some stories are more than just words. They are warnings. And sometimes, the scariest things are the ones that are closest to the truth. The Sycamore files knew what would happen. And now, so do I. The only question left is, what happens next? Author's note: if you've ever come across any stories or predictions like the Sycamore files, let me know. Maybe together we can uncover the truth. But remember, once you start down this path, there's no turning back. The story has a way of pulling you in. And it doesn't like to let go.